Former President Donald Trump and his campaign team had been preparing for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to drop out of the race over the past 24 hours. Trump is expected to release a statement on social media addressing the suspension of DeSantis' campaign, two sources familiar with the discussions told CNN. The rumors were hot and heavy throughout the weekend, so we had expected this, a senior Trump campaign advisor told CNN shortly after DeSantis announced he was dropping out of the race. Trump viciously attacked DeSantis throughout his White House bid, focusing the majority of his attacks on the governor in the lead-up to the Iowa caucuses. Many of those attacks stemmed from Trump's personal animosity toward DeSantis for being disloyal by running against him after Trump had endorsed DeSantis for governor in 2017, according to multiple Trump campaign advisors and people close to the former president. A big question now is whether Trump can look beyond his personal grievances and view DeSantis as a potential surrogate, Trump's allies and advisors said. It's always been personal with Trump, a person close to Trump told CNN, noting that the former president and his team didn't just want to hurt DeSantis' presidential candidacy, but also his political future beyond 2024. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear or repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents. The decision by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to end his presidential campaign came after days of conversations with donors. It became clear over the weekend that there was neither the rationale nor the financial support to continue his candidacy. DeSantis and his wife, Casey, made the decision Sunday afternoon, surprising many of his rank-and-file staffers and supporters. The money wasn't there to continue, one top DeSantis donor told CNN, Florida Governor Ron. DeSantis' short trip back to Florida on Thursday was a resetting moment for him, where, for the first time, he seriously entertained conversations about dropping out, according to a source with knowledge of the matter. DeSantis met with a very small group of his closest advisors. I think he just needed to get a bit of time to collect his thoughts and determine a path forward, the source said. He got to the decision on his own, and he determined it's in his best interest to get back to governing. The source described the mood around DeSantis' advisors as disappointing, but the belief had set in that his campaign was over. As we approach the New Hampshire primary, here's a look at the participation rules for Republican nominating contests between now and the end of March. 36 states and territories will hold Republican nominating contests between New Hampshire on Tuesday and Louisiana on March 23rd. Of those, 11 are closed, meaning only registered party members can participate, although some allow party switching on the day of the contest, and 22 are either open to all voters or semi-open, meaning that Republicans and unaffiliated voters can participate. In many states with open primaries, voters don't formally register with a party with the state. Information for 3 contests isn't currently available. While the early states are important for building momentum, the bulk of the delegates will be awarded in March. By the end of Super Tuesday, on March 5th, 205 of the Republican Convention's 249 delegates will have been awarded, or 99% of the 1-15 needed to win the nomination. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who entered the Republican presidential primary as Donald Trump's greatest threat, announced Sunday he is ending his White House bid nearly a week after his underwhelming performance in Iowa. In a video on X, DeSantis said there was no clear path to presidential success for his campaign. If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it, but I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign, DeSantis said. Winston Churchill once remarked that success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. While this campaign has ended, the mission continues down here in Florida. We will continue to show the country how to lead. Thank you and God bless. It's a devastating blow to the promising career of a once rising GOP star, and his failure to reach the lofty expectation of his candidacy has already sparked a wave of second-guessing from close allies and advisors. Some believe DeSantis took too long to attack Trump. others think his team underestimated former South Carolina Gov. Nikki Haley, more remained convinced that there was nothing DeSantis could have done to wrestle the party from Trump's loyal and sizable followers. DeSantis is in Florida tonight following his decision to suspend his campaign, according to two sources familiar with the matter. Florida Gov Ron. DeSantis endorsed former President Donald Trump in the video ending his campaign. "I'm proud to have delivered on 100% of my promises, and I will not stop now. It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. While I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci, Trump is superior to the current incumbent Joe Biden. That is clear," he said in his video on X. Immediately after DeSantis suspended his campaign, a Trump advisor maintained that despite DeSantis' endorsement of Trump, it's still unclear whether the former president may ultimately embrace the Florida governor moving forward. The New Hampshire Republican presidential primary is just 2 days away, and representatives for the major candidates were busy Sunday with TV appearances and campaign events. Here's a roundup of recent comments from key players. DeSantis surrogate Representative Massey says, "We never had high expectations for New Hampshire anyway." Republican Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky, a surrogate for Ron. DeSantis campaign said Sunday the Florida governor. "Never had high expectations for New Hampshire anyway," after a new CNN poll showed him standing at just 6%, below the 10% minimum support he would need to win delegates in the Granite State, per the Republican Party's rules. When asked whether DeSantis cancelled his appearances on the Sunday shows because he did not want to talk about his dire poll numbers, Massey focused his attention on former South Carolina governors Nikki Haley, who stands with 39% support among likely Republican primary voters in New Hampshire to Donald Trump's 50%. Massey said Haley is going to miss expectations and not even win her own state. Haley surrogate, Rep. Norman. Trump is attacking Haley because he knows she is a serious threat. Haley campaign surrogate Representative Ralph Norman of South Carolina said Trump is escalating attacks against the former South Carolina governor because she's gaining in the polls and he knows she is a serious threat, adding, "It's a two-person race now." Norman is one of the South Carolina's notable Republicans still sticking with Haley, even after South Carolina Senate won. Tim Scott recently threw his support behind Trump. The state's governor, Henry McMaster, has also endorsed the former president, as has Senator Lindsey Graham. Norman credited his pivot to supporting Haley over Trump to her youth, telling Fox News on Sunday, "She's got the it factor." Trump surrogate Sen. Vance says Haley just hasn't faced attacks that Trump has. Trump campaign. Surrogate Sen. JD. Vance of Ohio brushed off voter concerns that the former president has too much baggage and argued that Haley is the candidate the Democrats haven't teed off on. Nikki does have baggage. She just hasn't faced the onslaught of years of media attacks, of super PAC attacks, that Donald Trump has faced, Vance said. As for the upcoming contest in New Hampshire, a state that allows independents to participate in the primary process, Vance accused some of those voters of being liberals who moved to New Hampshire from Massachusetts and insinuated Haley's campaign strategy is getting liberals to vote for you in a Republican primary, adding, "It doesn't work nationally."